Hey there everybody, now that we've gone through and performed our initial Windows 10 customizations and installed some recommended software from Ninite, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to perform the additional customizations and user interface changes that we recommend to make Windows 10 a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more familiar to use if you are used to Windows 7 and prior. You'll notice along the bottom that there are some Windows 10 related changes to the taskbar. This particular computer is a brand new computer, so I don't have any of my normal apps down there like Google Chrome or Firefox or Microsoft Word or Outlook or anything like that. And also we have this giant search bar that takes up a lot of room down there. It's basically Microsoft wanting to highlight one of the features that's been around really in Windows 7 and in Windows 8, but folks maybe didn't utilize as much, which is Windows built-in search functions. And they call it Cortana in Windows 10. And it searches not only files and settings and programs on your computer, but it also searches the web. It's a pretty handy thing. We had a setting where we could configure Cortana earlier, and of course the search results will differ based on what we chose there. If you opted out of having Cortana, predict your typing or track any of your web activity or anything like that, your search results are going to be different. The more information Microsoft has about you, the better the search results there are going to be. But that's a trade-off of privacy for convenience. And of course it's up to us individually to make that decision, whether it's worth the trade-off or not. The first thing we're going to go and do is customize the start menu. If we go on the start menu here, we can see that here's a lot of Windows 7 style start menu items like control panel, network connections, that kind of thing. PC settings is the Windows 10 control panel interface where you can find items like update and security. Very handy to run Windows updates right there. You can go there and then you can let it churn and search for updates here. And if there are some updates, it'll give you the option here to install them. This is probably the best way to make sure your operating system is up to date. Windows 10 will periodically go and download updates automatically and install them on an automatic schedule, possibly interrupting your work. So make sure when you step away from your computer you save your files, but that's just general good computer habits. I'm not going to worry about installing these updates right now because I want to go through these tutorial steps here with you guys. So that's PC settings and can be found from the start menu both in normal Windows 10 start menu as well as this classic start menu here that we've installed from Ninite. If you want to make changes to that start menu, I recommend right-clicking on the Start button and going to Settings. Here I typically go and change the style to Windows 7 style, and then I also go to Customize Start Menu along the top here. Windows Vista 7, 8, and 10 all have the Downloads folder by default as your location to save downloaded files or to store them when you're opening files online, when you're saving a Word document, a PDF, whatever. It's the default location in Internet Explorer, Firefox, and Google Chrome. And yet, in all versions of Windows, Vista 7, 8, and 10, all the modern versions of Windows, they do not show the Downloads menu on the Start menu, or a Downloads link on the Start menu. Typically, I don't care about the games that are built into Windows, like Solitaire and stuff like that, so I will change this to Don't Display This Item. And if you're in a business environment, it makes sense to turn that off anyway. Videos, if you have a lot of video files, you can make sure to go ahead and say Display as a Link, and then hit OK. And once you've had all those settings configured, you'll see that we now have a section for downloads, a section for videos, music, pictures, documents, and just my overall user folder here, which contains all those other things. So again, that's right-clicking the Start menu and going to Settings, and then you can make the customizations that you would like to your own Start menu. The next thing we're going to do is alter the settings along the bottom here to collapse this search bar down so it doesn't take up quite so much room. If you have a smaller screen on your computer, that definitely takes up a lot of real estate. So we're going to right-click down along the empty part of the taskbar down here. That's going to give us this menu. And there's a search item, and then you can say change it to hidden or show search icon. I like to do show search icon so that folks know it's there. You've got this little magnifying glass that then opens up into the full search function when you click on it. And that gives you access to the tool and it gives you visibility of it without it dominating a significant portion of the taskbar along the bottom. I also like to hide the Windows Store because I typically do not use any apps that are installed from the Windows Store. So if you right click on the icon down there, you'll have the option to unpin it from the taskbar. So we're going to go ahead and choose that, and that will get rid of it from the bottom. And then Microsoft Edge is the new browser built in Windows 10. It's pretty fast, but there are going to be limitations in terms of what websites work well with it. Most normal websites that folks go to will be just fine, but there are a lot of like banking websites or other websites that use advanced scripting that will not work with Microsoft Edge. So that's something to be aware of, and I always recommend using Google Chrome or Firefox over Microsoft Edge. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that from the taskbar along the bottom using the same process. Just right click on it and then choose Unpin from the taskbar. And you'll notice we don't really have any icons along the bottom anymore. We have this task switching icon, which is handy if you have multiple programs open. We have the search icon, the normal Windows Start menu here, actually customized with Classic Start. And we have File Explorer, which shows you basically your list of documents and other files on the computer. There's a change I like to make here, which is to alter it from its Windows 10 default, which is to show your most recent used files. This is actually a pretty handy function. But I do like the more traditional appearance, so I go up to the View section here and I choose Show File Name Extensions. That's actually pretty important because otherwise it's hard to tell the difference between a JPEG and a PDF unless you know the icons. So I always turn file extensions on. And then I'll go back into the View menu, and then we're going to go to this Options section, and I'm going to say Change Folder and Search Options. And here we're going to change the File Explorer default from Open the Quick Access section to Open this PC, which is synonymous with My Computer. So if we go and we close File Explorer, now that I've made that change, and I open it again, you'll see it will open what used to be called My Computer and is now called This PC. So you can see here's my normal folders like desktop, documents, pictures, etc. But then you can also see my C drive and then also the DVD drive that I have installed in this machine. So we went and we used the View menu to turn on file extensions, so we can tell the differences between different types of files by the .pdf or .xls file extension on the end of the file name. And we also went into Options and we changed the default for File Explorer to This PC instead of Quick Access. Another really useful function along the left-hand side is this Quick Access section. If you're in a folder that you like to go to on a regular basis and want it to be stuck over here where it's basically pinned or kept in that section, you can go to that particular folder. Let's pretend that I wanted to go to the users folder and I wanted to have that always be on the left hand side under quick access. If you go to the folder that you use on a regular basis, this can be a network location, this can be a specific folder under your documents folder, anything you want, any folder on your computer, you go into that folder so that you can see your contents that you want to see. And if you right click on Quick Access, you can say Pin Current Folder to Quick Access. And you'll see it pins it there. If there's an item up there you don't want, maybe I don't ever go to the Pictures folder on my computer, I can right click on it and I can choose the option to unpin from Quick Access. So that's a good way to clean up that list there and get rid of any items that you don't use on a regular basis or anything that you've pinned accidentally. The next thing we're going to do is close out of this window here. And we'll want to restore some icons for programs we use on a regular basis along the bottom here. The easiest way to do that is to open the program you'd like to have along the bottom. So in this case, let's try Google Chrome and open that up. And let's go and open up Firefox too. I'm just hitting the Start key on the keyboard, which is the little Windows flag icon, and then I'm just typing. And that's the best way to use search in Windows 7, Windows 8, and Windows 10. You can click on the Start menu and start typing. You can also just hit the Start key on the keyboard and start typing. So I'm going to go ahead and type Firefox. And you'll see my computer pretty quickly goes and pulls up the little icon for Firefox. I can click on it, and you'll notice that as I open these programs, they appear along the bottom taskbar. I can go and pull up Paint.net, which is a graphics editing program that we installed off of Ninite. And here you'll see that Firefox is finished starting up. It's the first time Firefox is launched on this computer. It's going to ask me if I want to import any settings or saved passwords from other browsers. I don't have anything to import from other browsers, so I'm going to say go ahead and don't import anything. So I'm going to say next, and that's going to close out of that menu. So here's Paint.net pulled up, my little graphics editing program. Here's Google Chrome, and Firefox should open up in a minute. But any program that you open up will appear along the taskbar down here. If you want to keep it in the taskbar, simply right-click on it, and there'll be an option to pin it to the taskbar, and that will keep it down there. So I'm going to do that for each of these programs here. And here's Firefox launching. Firefox is going to ask the first time you launch it if you want to use it as your default. I'm going to say don't ask me because I want Chrome to be my default. So I'm going to say don't perform this check when starting Firefox, and I'm going to say not now. So I'm going to go ahead and pin Firefox down here as well. If you ever want to change the order of these icons, it's very simple. Simply click and drag the icon, and it will change the order, which doesn't affect anything aside from if you use the keyboard shortcuts, which is Windows key on the keyboard next to Control and Alt plus a number key. That will open or switch to that particular program in order. So here, Windows Explorer with the folder icon is number 1, Chrome is number 2, Paint.net is number 3, Firefox is number 4. So if you hit the Windows key, if you hold that down and you press 2, if Chrome is not in front, like right now Paint.net is in front, if I hit Windows 2, Chrome will come up to the front. If I hit Windows 4, Firefox will come up to the front. If the program isn't open, it will open it for you and then bring it to the front. So very handy keyboard shortcut that I use on a regular basis, but other folks, may not be aware of or care about that keyboard shortcut. For Chrome and Firefox, there are a couple recommended changes. One of those is to install an extension or an add-on called uBlock Origin, and that is an add-on that blocks ads on basically every website on the internet, which is a fantastic thing. That includes ads on YouTube, that includes ads on Facebook for the most part. It just makes the internet a faster, cleaner, and somewhat safer place to go. It's pretty easy to install those add-ons and extensions, so we'll go over that in a moment. First, here in Firefox, I'm going to change a couple other settings. The first thing to change in Firefox is the default search engine, which Firefox has opted for Yahoo search. It used to be Google as the default, which is the best search engine, but Firefox received a contribution from Yahoo, I believe, at some point, and I think that changed their perception or their default for what was the best search engine. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the little magnifying glass here. That'll bring up this menu, and I'm going to say change search settings. And we're going to go in there, and we're going to change it from Yahoo to Google. Typically I go down and I enable show search suggestions in location bar results, but I also go down here and I say remove, and I just remove all the search engines that I don't care about. Typically if I want to look something up on Wikipedia or on Amazon, I'll go to Wikipedia or Amazon's website and then search there. So that's one setting to change. You can also go up to the menu here and then add-ons, and we're going to go and get uBlock Origin, and that's spelled with the letter U, B-L-O-C-K, Origin, like the initiation or the starting point of something. And we're going to get uBlock Origin. We're going to say install. It takes just a moment to download and install. It's that quick. There's no further customization you need to do. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of this tab, close out of the options tab as well, and then by default Firefox comes up with this as its start page, but you can go to any website. We'll go to Google here, for example, and then set that as your home page, and you can go to the menu here, you can go to options, and you can say show my home page, show my windows and tabs from last time, or show a blank page. And if you want to set your home page, you can click this one, which will set all of these to be your home page. If I didn't want these other extra tabs to be my home pages, I would close them before hitting that option. But a more interesting item here is to change this setting to show my windows and tabs from last time. Basically what that means is when you start Firefox, if you have closed it or had to restart your computer, or have otherwise quit out of Firefox, when you start Firefox it will pull up all the same web pages and all the same sites, basically exactly how you left them. So if you were partway through reading a news article, it'll pull up that article, it'll even be on the right part of the page, I believe, depending on how the website is set up. It'll hop down, halfway through the article to where you were previously. That's a really handy function, and I actually work with my browser that way all the time. Both Chrome and Firefox, I have that option set to, instead of starting up with a predetermined website or a home page, I have it just bring up everything that I had from last time. Another setting here that you may want to adjust is when it has a download prompt in Firefox, do you want it to automatically save files to a folder, either your downloads folder, or you can click browse to choose a different location, or do you want it to say always ask me where to save files? That's a behavior that changed a while back to where Firefox and Chrome and Internet Explorer will automatically save things to your downloads folder, and some people really have had a hard time dealing with that change. That was something that occurred several versions of, well, numerous versions of Windows and Firefox and Chrome ago. It's been a default behavior for a long time, and something that a lot of folks still struggle with. So depending on your preferences, you can have it always ask you where you want to save files, which gives you the opportunity to file it immediately away into a certain folder, or you can just use the downloads or whatever other folder you specify as a temporary holding location. I usually just have it save right to downloads, but other folks definitely opt for this setting, and there's definitely a use case for that. So in my case, I'm going to go ahead and leave that setting alone, and all you have to do is hit close here, and that will save those settings. And then I can close this little bar along the bottom. You can alter your privacy settings here from Firefox, but Firefox is a public benefit organization, so they're typically better than most companies about not sharing information that can be personally attributed to you, and it's more of an anonymous statistics gathering operation to make the product a better product. So I'm going to go ahead and close that, and I'm going to quit out of Firefox, and if you go up to the menu here, you can go and click the little power button, or you can click the X to close out of the window. I like to do the power button because if I have multiple windows and multiple tabs open, that will quit out of all of them simultaneously, which means when I then open Firefox next, it will pull up all of the pages I had up, not just the last one that I closed. So if you quit Firefox this way, it will keep everything, not just the one particular window, which is really handy if you do a lot of research, you have a bunch of windows and a bunch of tabs open. So I'm going to say close that using the exit button. And here's Chrome. We're going to do a couple customizations here in Chrome. The first is going to be to grab uBlock Origin, which will block ads on the internet. Always a wonderful thing. We're going to go to the menu bar in the upper right. Again, that's a similar icon to in Firefox, and on your Android smartphones have a similar icon for a lot of their menus. And under settings, we're going to go and basically go to a section called extensions, which is synonymous with add-ons in Firefox. It's analogous, I guess. It basically is the same kind of thing, where it's a little plugin you grab and you install it, and it changes the behavior or gives you capabilities in your browser you didn't have previously. Down at the bottom here is where you would click and get more extensions, and that opens up the Google Chrome Web Store, which has all kinds of tools and games and things like that that are available, both free and paid. uBlock Origin is a free application, and I'm going to go ahead and add to Chrome, and we're going to say add extension, give it permission there, and you'll see it pops up the little download bar along the bottom here, and it will let me know when it's finished adding it to Chrome. And it's complete, so we're going to go ahead and close out of the Chrome Web Store, close out of our extensions tab, and close out of our new tab. When you open Chrome, it will default to not exactly the Google homepage, but it'll be a blank tab. It's called the new tab, I guess. It shows your most recent and most visited websites along the bottom here. You can see that uBlock Origin is finished installing. It has a little icon in the upper right. If you ever need to turn off uBlock Origin, there's a website you need to go to that doesn't allow pop-up blockers, for example. If you simply click on the icon and then click this big power symbol, that will allow you to turn it off and on at your leisure. And then you can reload the page by clicking the reload button, and that will typically let you get back onto the website. Some news websites, for example, don't allow you on if you're using a pop-up blocker. It's also good to disable on websites that you want to support that get their revenue through ads. Some websites, that's their only way of making money. So some websites, I will actually turn uBlock Origin off. And again, that's to click on the icon for uBlock. This little shield here. It's gray when there's nothing to block, but it's red if it is active and blocking things. There's nothing on this blank Google page to block, no ads or anything, so there's no option there. But if we click on the power button, that will toggle uBlock Origin on and off, and you'll even have the choice of whether you want to do it temporarily or permanently. So again, that's just in case you want to allow ads for a particular website, to either support the website or to work around a website that blocks your browser when you're using an ad blocker. So now that we have installed and configured uBlock Origin and done some customization here to our browsers, I'm going to quit out of Google Chrome, and I'm going to quit out of Paint.net here, since we're not going to use that for anything here. Next thing I'm going to do is go into the Start menu, and then I'm going to go to that location I showed you earlier called PC Settings. This is a relatively fresh installation of Windows 10, or similarly upgraded from Windows 7 or Windows 8 to Windows 10. And one of the things that you should do early on is you should go to the Settings section and then Updates and Security. And you'll see that my machine actually has a number of updates that need to be installed. So I'm going to wait for the user interface here to load, and then we're going to go ahead and tell it to install now, and that will get all of those updates installing. There may be additional prompts or permissions you need to grant while it's doing this process, so just keep an eye out for that. You might get a little flashing shield icon along the bottom here, and that's something that you'll have to make sure to click on, and then it'll probably be asking you for permission to install some additional updates. We ask the computer to install updates, so if it does that right now while you're doing this process, you know it's safe. But typically, if a website is telling you need to update something, be very suspicious about it, because that's a very easy way for them to load malware on your computer. But in this case, we're actually running the Windows Update function here, so anything like that that comes up, we actually know we want to go ahead and do, because we prompted it in the first place. One last customization that some folks prefer, or I like to set up, is this notification area down here in the lower right. This has the clock, it has your network location settings, has your speaker settings. This little arrow here shows additional icons that aren't loaded. If you want to change that default behavior down there to show more icons or show all of them, if you right click and you say Properties, you'll have the option to go and customize the notification area. That's what that area in the lower right is called. It used to also be called the system tray. So I'm going to go ahead and click Customize here, and that's going to load up the control panel system settings for that area. We're going to be particularly interested in turning system icons on and off, or actually select which icons appear in the taskbar. And so this lets you control item by item whether they show up here or whether they're underneath this little white arrow that shows more. I like to go and, if there's not a ton of items in this list, I like to go and say always show all items. And so you can see that Microsoft OneDrive and GreenShot both appear down in the bottom here, in addition to the default items for network, audio, and notifications and the clock. So if you don't have too many items, or if you have enough screen space, you have a lot of space along the bottom here, I like to go ahead and turn on all of those. I probably have about 20 icons or so on my machine in the lower right, just based on the number of programs that I'm running on a regular basis. So I go ahead and close out of that, and close out of that. And we don't have our window open for our updates, but we can get back there very easily by clicking Start and then going to Settings, and then going back to that Update section. And we'll check the status on that. And we'll go to Update and Security here. So it's downloading a large number of updates for my machine here. Actually not a large number, but a couple updates that are actually pretty large. This cumulative update is usually fairly large because it rolls in a bunch of smaller updates. And we're just going to go ahead and let that continue to do its thing, and when it's finished it'll probably prompt us to restart the computer. I'm going to go ahead and do that when it's finished installing all those updates. Hey everybody, another question that comes up frequently with folks who have upgraded to Windows 10 or are just getting started with Windows 10 is how to change the default applications for opening things like PDFs or pictures, or if you click on a link in an email, if it opens up in Microsoft Edge and you'd much rather that it opened up in Google Chrome or Firefox, it's very easy to change all of those settings. If you go to the Start menu and click on the Start menu and then go to PC Settings, and again I'm running Classic Shell here, so if you're still running the original Windows 10 Start menu it might look a little different. I believe in the original Windows 10 Start menu the item is just called Settings, but it'll get to the same place. So I'll load up PC Settings here. And it's going to be under the System section here, which has items for display, notification, apps, and power, other system-wide settings. We're going to go down to Default Apps along the left-hand side here. And that's going to load a set of menu items where we can change the default applications for various file types. I'm going to leave Maps alone here. If you have the Outlook program from Office installed on your computer, if you actually have like Office 2013 or 2016 installed, you should click on Choose a Default here and change that over to Outlook. If you don't have the actual Outlook program installed on your computer, don't worry about it. Or if you use webmail like Gmail, don't worry about it. Photo Viewer, I like to set the Windows Photo Viewer as the default here instead of this new Windows 10 Photos app. I like to use either Paint.net, Paint, or Windows Photo Viewer, which is the more traditional way of doing it. I'm going to go ahead and leave this alone for now for the tutorial purposes though. Video Player, I always change that to either VLC, which is a very common and popular media player, or in this case where we've gone through Ninite and installed Media Player Classic, I'm going to choose MPC, which is the Media Player Classic program. Web browser, this is the one you definitely want to alter here from Microsoft Edge. And we're going to choose, in my case, Google Chrome. I have a strong preference for. Google Chrome is very fast. It's secure. It has Adobe Flash built in, so you don't need to worry about keeping Flash up to date. And that's why I recommend using it as your default browser. It works with the vast majority of websites. There are very few that don't behave properly with Google Chrome. Firefox is also a good option. Firefox has more flexibility, I would say, than Google Chrome, even if it's not quite as fast and not quite as user-friendly or secure. Both of them can be customized to behave very similarly. I just have a very strong preference for Google Chrome based on how much quicker it is than both Firefox and Internet Explorer. So I'm going to go ahead and change my default browser to Google Chrome there. So that takes care of setting some of your default apps there. If you want to get more granular about it, you can control the kinds of programs that open PDFs, the kinds of programs that open Word documents, etc. And that can be found by going to the Start menu and then clicking on Default Programs here. And that will load the kind of Windows 7 style control panel interface where we can specify that a certain program will open a certain file type. The easiest way to do this is to go to this first option. It says Set Your Default Programs, which sounds like it's going to do something similar to the other window interface we were just in under PC Settings and Default Apps, but really this has a much more robust list. There's usually like 30 items here versus the 5 or 6 that we saw in the other list in terms of types of files, in terms of protocols, and things like that. This is where you'll find things like Adobe Reader or Sumatra PDF and other applications that are selectable as a default application to open certain file types. Adobe Reader and Sumatra both being useful for opening PDFs. So you see a list of the installed programs along the left-hand side. And you can go through and click on one of these. For example, we'll do Sumatra PDF here, if I can find it in the list. It looks like it isn't in the list actually here. Well, if it was, we could click on it, and then we can say, set this program as default. So you can see that Google Chrome is actually set as a default for only 7 out of 19 possible defaults. I'm going to go ahead and set that as default for all the file types and protocols that it can open. I'm guessing that some of those are related to Microsoft Edge, and I don't want Edge to open typically, so I'm going to go ahead and set Google Chrome as the default for all of those. If you have other programs in here like Adobe Reader and you want Adobe Reader to open PDFs and stuff by default, that's where you would go and click on Adobe Reader and you would say set this program as default. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK now that I've made my changes there that I prefer based on the applications that are installed on this computer. And I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. So at this point we've made some user interface changes to Windows 10 that are follow-ups on items we either changed or installed earlier. We modified the notifications area down here, we customized the start menu, we edited File Explorer and changed the settings there so that it opens up to my computer, and we also enabled file name extensions. We changed the, or rather I showed you the quick access section along the left hand side here, how to pin and unpin items. And we went in and we edited some of the settings in Google Chrome and Firefox, and we also installed the uBlock Origin ad blocking extension for both Chrome and Firefox. And I also showed you how to pin and unpin items from the taskbar along the bottom here. Again, that's just you open the program, and then once it appears down here, you can right click on it, and then you'll have the option to pin or unpin the item from the taskbar. I know this has been a long tutorial video, so thanks for bearing with me and for watching, and I hope you got at least a few good things out of it, and I look forward to talking to you guys in the next one and showing you some more tricks. Windows 10 is a pretty fast operating system. It definitely is an upgrade from Windows 8 and is an upgrade from Windows 7 just from its performance standpoint, let alone additional features and possibly tighter security and just a more modern interface, more modern browser. It's been a good upgrade. I've been using it full time since January of 2015 when it was in beta, and it's been the operating system I've been running on my laptop and both my desktops since then, basically. And I've been really enjoying it. Once you customize it and kind of tame it a little bit, you'll find it's faster than Windows 7 in just about every way. There are some wrinkles in terms of things being in two different places or having to go through a different menu to get to a particular set of settings, but overall it's a big improvement, and I think it's a worthy successor to Windows 7. As long as you go and just make some customizations that make it a little bit more user-friendly or maybe a little bit more comfortable based on what you've used in the past and your experience with Windows 7. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.